Here we go. All right, everybody. Stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. I know it's been a while since I did the videos. And again, unfortunately, the streams, a couple of people donate a couple of bucks on the stream. And sad to say, it actually ends up generating more than the average video. But I figured I'd go back and just recap a bunch of names that we were watching, a bunch of names that I was talking about. Because I really don't feel like putting out like 20 separate videos for all these different stocks. So we got to be quick. We have a lot to look at, and you got to stay with me. First company we're looking at is Microbot Medical, symbol MBOT here on the NASDAQ, of course, surgical robotic company. 319 on the close, 3.25% up to 321 here after hours. We can see we ran up, we hit 467, new highs as expected, continued to step up. And then we got news of that private placement and some dilution, which brought the stock down. It looked like approximately 30%. I know they said they issued, like 12 or 14 million shares basically immediately, which was roughly a 30% dilution, which is why I was looking right here at the low of this line here, about 267. That really should be, in my opinion, the low of the low. And if you recall, that's really not that bad, right? Because we went up and we were stepping in this channel, dropped into this channel, and we were dancing around. And you can see we broke up, came back to retest, broke up again, and we came back down. And we recently tested this trend line and spiked back up. So we could potentially be stepping down to here. But if it does get that low, it should bounce right around there. And if we look at the shares, roughly 14 million shares for about $29 million. You could see the prices 1.5 to 213. Second round expected to close by October 15. We'll see the company sell almost another 2 million shares at about 210 apiece. But again, 12 million and about 1.9 is about 14 million. Current float 45 million, right? So it was at about 4 on the news. So you drop it potentially a third, because they diluted about a third, right? And that would be $1.33 minus $4 is $2.67. That's how I found that level. And also, yes, there are also other options, as you see, for the same number of shares, which would be 25% of value, right? Because we went from a float of 45 million, now we're up to about 60 million. So if we're going to potentially have more exercised, if we're going to have more options exercised, in about 6 months for the same number of shares, then it's going to be about 14 million shares of 60 million roughly float, which is about 25%. But these shares, as you see, are exercisable at 4.5. So I think we do see 5+, and then of course could potentially drop a couple of months down the road. If fully exercised, could provide them with 63 million. Company caution, there's no guarantee they'll be exercised. Continue developing, commercializing, and obtaining regulatory approval for its Liberty system, as well as for potential acquisitions, working capital, and general corporate purposes. But long term, I do still like MBOT, but recently, with the pullback, that's kind of what's going on. BlackBerry has been on the move. As you see, again, I was looking for around sub 3.5. That never really happened. We hit about 355, 356, and then we started stepping up, and we're up here now above 4. We're at 421 on the close. If you want, again, we're looking at this long-term triangle, kind of. So if you want to potentially give up short-term gains here, if it runs up to 5, and kind of wait to see if it rejects, that's entirely your own prerogative. However, it does look like we're looping, and we're tightening, and we could potentially be ready for a premature breakout. We have earnings on this one Thursday before the open, which means you'd have to position yourself by Wednesday. But in my opinion, long term, I just think it's a brand name company, BlackBerry. I think they still have a lot of tech and a lot of IP on the back burner. And similar to like a Smith & Wesson, I just think that there's value there. I think that there's value there. And again, if we talk about just a handful of decent companies coming out of Canada, no disrespect, I have a feeling, again, that BlackBerry still has value there. And, you know, it's already up, whatever, 10-15% roughly. And I know a lot of people may not be interested in that play, but I bring you to Intel, which of course was basically the same exact situation. This is a brand name beaten up company. I brought it up multiple times down here at the lows in the high teens. I was talking about it at 20, 21, 23. And we're finding out that we have big stakes coming into Intel. If you weren't aware, I believe I spoke about it. I don't remember. It might have been on stream. But not too long ago, we got the news that, again, Trump basically takes a stake with the government, 10% stake in Intel. And then we get news that we have $5 billion coming in from NVIDIA now. U.S. government bought 433 million shares at 2047. So that positions up almost 50% already. The stock hit 32.38 just yesterday, and you know was above 30 today. Obviously we have some people taking profits and whatnot. And we had $5 billion from NVIDIA. Yeah, they could have bought them for $20 billion. $5 billion in Intel stock, shares at 23.28. And now the stock's at 30. So, I mean, you know, could slowly pull back. You can see this was a high right here of about 27.5. I mean, it could slowly pull back and then bounce. I don't know exactly what it's going to do. It technically broke below this trend line here. But, again, as I said, brand name company that was beaten up, and there is value here. And now you can see the government agrees with me, and NVIDIA agrees with me, taking a $5 billion stake in Intel. And this is what I'm talking about. In my opinion, this is how you have to navigate these markets while we're consistently hitting highs, and a lot of the other brand name stocks are just consistently holding or breaking even higher to some ridiculous valuations. Sometimes you gotta, again, look under the radar. You have to look where the spotlight was taken off of, where it used to be, maybe where you feel it should be. Look at Smith & Wesson. Again, we were talking about Smith & Wesson, well, I was talking about Smith & Wesson, brand name American company, potentially undervalued over the long term. And you can see we had a nice turnaround here with earnings just about 2 weeks ago. Nice beat on the top and bottom line. Stock spikes up from 8, almost hits 10. Looks like we're potentially flagging, and we're going to be probably following this potential path that I laid out just a couple of months back. And we're probably going to step our way back up. Again, I see at least here. So the stock probably, conservatively, could hit 10 1/3, 10 1/2, no problem, really, in my opinion. But yeah, if we pump it, even if we take our time and we slowly bring it up going into next earnings, you can see you're looking at north of about 11.5 if we get near this line. So I do think there's still value there, SWBI. But really glad they beat earnings because the stock was struggling. Excuse me. PayPal, in my opinion, I think the spotlight's going to come back on it. I think it's potentially back in play. And again, if we zoom out, we talk about the big drop. In my opinion, overreaction. We're keeping the stock down. It's still down here at sub 70, hanging out in the 60s. And I do think over time, we rally all the way back up here to about 153 and close that gap. But again, even here, conservatively, this gap, you're looking at 139.5, basically where we drop down to. So there's a lot of potential here, in my opinion, about 100% plus move in PayPal. I do think, again, I think that more people come back to it now that we're having rates start to trend down again. So I think it comes back into the radar. I think it comes back into the spotlight. In my opinion, the stock is undervalued here, and that's why, again, 100 plus is very conservative. Back to where it was and filling the gap, 140, 150 plus, I think is very doable. And even recently, we had, it was a couple of days ago. We got the news, Google, PayPal, Inc. multi-year partnership on digital commerce. So, that's what I mean. They can beat a stock down, they can take it out of the spotlight, but the company is still the company. The analysis is still the analysis, you know what I'm saying? But I like PayPal. Recently, I also spoke about Children's Place, saying that the stock was kind of undervalued. In my opinion, after earnings, we were at 5 and change. Stock runs up to about 8 1/3 and recently pulled back, but we could see a test on the moving average here at about 6-ish, maybe sub 6, and we can bounce right there. Just beat on revenue. Losses are a little rough, but again, we were really beating it up, so we could have the turnaround story. A little bit more of a spec play, I guess, if you will, but has been moving nicely since earnings. Sportsman Warehouse, kind of a similar situation. Potential turnaround here. Had a really nice bounce about midway of 25, right? We still ran up, and even though we're bouncing around, we're still kind of in this downward consolidation. So we could be getting ready to pop up to the 5s and the 6s. Just an idea. Just an idea. What else was I talking about? Goodyear Tire. Goodyear Tire. Technically ended up just breaking right there. It was still... What happened here? Wow. It was inside the triangle just earlier. Huh. Goodyear Tire, again, you can see we pulled back to about 830, down 1.5%, sitting at about 8.5, and last time I spoke about it, again, it was right around this level, and we had the nice climb and break up to above 12. So conservatively, again, even back up to a trend line here, you can see you're talking high 9s, potentially 10, and I think that's conservative again. Company doing $4-5 billion roughly in revenue a quarter. We got about a $2.4 billion market cap. So just in a potential undervalued situation again. SMCI. Ended up pulling back almost flat, but we did end up climbing up, getting back above this support trend line here that we broke below. We were flattening here. Remember, I was saying at the time, on the stream anyway, but I was saying at the time, you know, $40, juice might be worth the squeeze, and we spike up to about 47, come down to retest, and bounced up. We're still above a couple of trend lines here. You can see we have this resistance coming down. We're back above it. We have this support cutting across, and we just got back above it. So SMCI could see a little bit of a run here. We could see 50 plus next week, especially if markets continue to stay green. I like SMCI here, both short term and long term, in my opinion. Disney, I mentioned Disney puts recently when we broke that key level right there, 118.58. You can see how it tested, tried to get above, rejected multiple times, and have been in free fall. Also, if you go on X, I know what happened. Who was it? Kimmel. Right, so they canceled Kimmel, and now you're getting a lot of backlash. People are out here tweeting and stuff. Oh, ABC, Disney, you suck. I'm canceling Disney Plus, So, in my opinion, I actually still think Disney puts are in play. But Fubo? Fubo been on the up and up again. We got back to where we were when we initially kind of got those prelim numbers for this earnings. If you recall, we had a breakup and then we dropped on good numbers. And that's what I mean. People are like, what's going on with Fubo? Instead of simply buying more. And now, boom, you're up a full point from that bounce. Stock sitting here at 4 1/3. Basically back to where it was, but did get higher. Did get up to about 4.5 just recently. So, in my opinion, I do think it gets to 5+. And again, hopefully this deal goes through no problem. And when we first got the news of the deal again, we went up to almost 6.5. Just keep that in mind. AMD, again, we're kind of hanging out. Looks like we're seeing multiple rejections off the moving average. I'm looking for a pullback to about here. Meet up with the gap fill there. Meet up with this bottom trend line here if possible. 144. 144-ish. That'd be pretty cool. What else were people talking about? RR we were talking about. There you go. You see the breakup today to 495. 52-week high 520 back here. And in my opinion, it gets above that line and continues to climb. Again, we're putting, you know, a billion, couple of billion plus valuations on just random companies. And this company, again, technically just got a deal here when this volume came in with a large retailer, if you recall. That was just about a month ago. And you can see we had a nice spike up, pulled back to retest, about 2 1/3. And now we bounced up and hit almost 5 today. So roughly 100+% move just inside of about the last 2 weeks. If you played that slight dip on RR. And again, people, you know, over here as it was pulling back, oh, what's going on with RR? And that's why I said, in my opinion, look at something else, man. Don't worry about it. Just relax. And now here you go again, right up to the trend line, almost $5. So we could potentially come back down here, meet up with the fib, meet up with the moving average, and then bounce and go right up here, right, to 560, hit new highs, hit the fib, retest the trend line. And of course, again, we were here, and you can see we were kind of in this triangle, started to rise up, but then broke and hung out at support, and then we got the news. So in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before it reclaims this trend line and then breaks up and goes to new highs again. 7, 8, in my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion. And you can see here just recently, RR maintained by HC Wainwright, excuse me. Price target raised from 3.5 to 6 to 6. And what I said like 7, 8 should be no problem. Price target raised to 6. Current market cap 667 million at 4.5. Meaning at 9 is 1.2 billion. You know what I mean? What else were people talking about? Some people mentioned Coke. Coke had a little bit of a pullback. My trend lines are all messed up now because of the split, but stock recently went through a 10-for-1 split. Everybody said it was very expensive. Boom, now it drops down here to $100 a share. Hopefully some of you jumped in, and we were channeling up nicely. Had a little pullback here, but you can see actually it looks like some nice volume today. 2.5 million shares moving. Average volume 500,000 shares. So, I mean, you guys know how I feel about Coke. Again, I think I did an initial video like back here at 53, which would have been about 500 a share, and it went up to almost 1,500 a share while paying a dividend. Now you got a 10-for-1 split. So if you listen to me back here, obviously you're sitting very pretty. But here after the split, again, we're at about 100 and change. In my opinion, I like it. Oh, I'm choking. Oh. Still sick a little bit. But in my opinion, I do like it still for the long term. Again, there's the bottling company. What else were we looking at? HGRAF. So yeah, HGRAF, again, we ran up into our triangle, broke up here. We were channeling upward. I was expecting a bounce up here. We ended up breaking down here. But you can see that it almost looks like another triangle, right? Like you can see it. You can see it even if you go from here. Whoops. You can see the triangling, and then we recently broke up and out. I know some people were talking about, like live conferences and webinars and stuff that they were doing recently. You can see a couple of days ago here, they added nuclear industry expert and shareholder Kerry Landis to the board. So I just feel like we're positioning ourselves, putting the right people in positions. We have the Texas facility coming online soon, and supposedly it's going to be a really good, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, it's going to be a very good, very productive 2026 for HGRAF Clean Power. Again, HGRAF. This one obviously did very well, and did videos back here, 10.5, did videos at 8, did videos at about 11. Stock climbed up, retested its highs to almost 30, pulled back here to about 15, and of course ran up to 270. So definitely one of the huge percentage return winners on the channel. And technically, nothing even really happened yet. So I still like it. Let's see, anything else I was talking about kind of recently? Let's look at RMTI again. Yep. Brought this up recently. Descending triangle, dropped it to about 1.25. We had a bounce, had a little bit of a drop. We could potentially come back down here to the low ones, but again, we same thing, right? We got news that we signed a deal, and again, I was early on this one, and they kind of continued to dilute quarter by quarter, but now we got the news again of the multi-year partnership. So we're going to bounce around, and I think it's only a matter of time before we get back to this trend line here, 170, and bounce back to 2+, kind of where we were. Obviously, if we're able to kind of beat earnings and keep getting good news, we can run up to this trend line here, which would be about 3+, 3.25. So that's what I'm waiting for. But back to 2 really shouldn't be an issue in my opinion. But it is a very small company, market cap 45 million, right? So again, some of these are more speculative plays. There you go. Keyboard disconnects and reconnects. We have SoFi continuing to hit highs, right? I was saying we can go up here to this top trend line. We could hit 28, 29, 30. Stock hits 29.63 today, closes 29.5, 5%. Just continuing on the up and up. And I remember saying all the way like back here that this company, if they continue doing what they're doing, they will continue to grow, become an institution and a brand name in the space. They'll continue to hit highs, and they will eventually get pieces of IPOs and whatnot. And I believe we got that recently, even though I haven't been able to find the article, but you can see even price target raised from 26 to 31. People just staying bullish on it. I'm trying to see. Maintained buy at Needham. This was about a week ago. 25 to 29. SoFi launches Agentic AI ETF. There you go. First ETF launch in 2 years. Highlights how Wall Street's appetite for AI remains strong. Yep. 30 stock indexes, mixes NVIDIA, Intuitive Surgical, which I said I always like. Yeah, John Deere, actually, I wanted to look at. There you go, SoFi ETF coming online. Right, but now all of a sudden, again, it's rallying. They're freaking listing ETFs. They overcautious IPO pricing. No. There was, again, maybe I misread it, I don't know. Price target raised from 18 to 28 by Citi. That was a month ago. Price target raised 22, 24. Again, these people are obviously being conservative. The Spec King, yeah. Bringing blockchain, international money transfers. But I could have swore they got a piece of an IPO. I don't know. Maybe I misread, or maybe it was a while back. I can't find it. I don't know. Well, whatever. Either way, they were growing nicely, and even when the ball dropped, I said, you're going to see the movement. Look at the stock, was half price. I said you're going to see the movement into these smaller, growing, up-and-coming names with strong fundamentals. And that's why, look, quarter over quarter we're growing, year over year we're growing, flip net income positive. That's why I say that this is what Wall Street looks for. And the stock, again, is up over 100% year to date. And, again, people said I was crazy over here at new lows of $6. People thought it was going to go lower. People didn't want to risk it. And now the stock's almost at 30. So, obviously, that worked out well. Really don't have to look at anything else. Look at SoundHound real quick. Yep, that's been on the up and up. Bounce still above this trend line here. So I spoke about this on stream again recently. And again, listen, I know the streams are very long, and I know you want your own little 8-minute video on SoFi. And again, with all due respect, I mean, you know, I tried for years to make everyone happy. And now, again, I'm trying to incorporate the live streams. Everyone's on a different time frame. As I said, unlike a lot of other channels that are predominantly, you know, like traders in the States, we have about half of our demographic here is overseas. People in South America, we got people in Europe, people Asia, Australia. So there's never going to be a way to make everybody happy. And again, I know I rant, I ramble. Sometimes the streams, I stream live sometimes for 4, 5, 6 hours. I know it's a bitch to skim through it. But again, you know, that's why I wanted to make this video, just looking at a bunch of names and just quickly show you where I stand and how they look. Because, again, to do even individual videos for each of these names, I mean, you know, think about how many videos I just would have had to make. We just looked at like 20 stocks. So, you know, again, I'm trying to make everyone happy, but also at the end of the day, you have to understand that I can't. I can't. I just can't make everyone happy. And, you know, if you need to message me on Discord or leave a comment to ask me a question, we got to do what we got to do. But SoundHound 16 and a quarter, up 4% today. In my opinion, it is overvalued, 6.6 billion. And again, we just brought in about 40 million. So a lot of these stocks are still pumping up and maintaining these values. But as long as markets keep hitting highs and staying up, then I guess all of these names are going to stay up, especially an AI, a voice AI tech stock like SoundHound. I do still like it for the long term. I think it could easily get back up to 25, 30 bucks. Again, if markets drop, it could definitely come down big and you can get it for a better price. But in the technicals, It did just run up here yesterday, right to the trend line, and you can see today we had a nice bounce off the trend line, healthy green candle. So if markets do not pull back, then the next stop could be about 18.5, right up testing this trend line here. Or again, we could drop back down to this trend line, reject. If we go red, meet up with the moving average here at about 14. So could kind of either swing 2 points up or down right here from this level, but technically above the trend line should stay bullish. Long term, I do still like it. Is that it? That's kind of it. Let's check actually CXW. How's that one doing? Just chilling. Yeah, in my opinion, I think this is a ridiculous valuation. Again, we saw a run up to 23. I was expecting it to climb up and out, and it ended up coming down. And now you can see it's essentially just flat, swinging about a point or two, just hanging out up and down. In my opinion, undervalued. And even after I did a video a while back, I remember we got price target upgrade. CoreCivic awarded $30 million annual ICE contract for Tennessee detention facility. They also spend what, like $60 million, I think, for like another facility, which is going to generate 20-30 million, they were saying. So it really should be on the up and up. I do still like it. Again, this is a prison stock, and this is what I mean, flying underneath the radar, right? No one talks about this. It's perfect. It's perfect, just the way I like it. Maintained buy at Jones Trading, 30 a share. That's a 50% increase. Strong Q2. Raises full year outlook. Increase in ICE business. But there were more. Price target. Where is the price target? Show me price target. Gain after Trump signs tax bill. Acquire the Farmville Detention Center. Well, whatever. But I don't remember who it was, but somebody, might have been Wainwright. Somebody came out with 35. If memory serves correct. But you can see right now, I mean, there's only 4 analysts covering the stock, all 4 giving them a strong buy. And you can see kind of how it does it, right? And this is what I mean. This is why some of these stocks to own in the portfolio, in my opinion, could be very, very advantageous. Because a lot of people don't follow them. They don't know about it. And, you know, at the same time, they can't just beeline them straight up, right? Because then they'll get attention. So you can see, look, they rise it up here coming into 24, and then we kind of flatten it out. And then Trump wins, boom. And then we kind of flatten it out, right? And then something will happen. We'll beat earnings again, maybe. We'll get another price target upgrade, and then boom. And then it flattens out, right? And then boom. And it flattens out. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Look at that track record. Now we're up to over $500 million. I like it. I like it. So yeah, I mean, those were, we looked at a bunch of names just now. And that's pretty much how I still feel about all those names, where I think they can go. So hopefully everyone's kind of on the same page now. And yeah, like I said, I know not everyone's able to catch the stream, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, because I do enjoy streaming. I don't mind making a video like this, but I do enjoy streaming. And just kind of being there, talking to everyone in real time and whatnot. And unfortunately, the people who miss out are the people on the other side of the planet who are 8, 10, 12 hours difference. So, you know, I'll try to do what I can, where I can. But yeah, you may have to go back and just kind of skim through those streams and see if I talk about a stock that you're looking at or you own and see how I feel about it. Or just, like I said, leave a YouTube comment or reach out in Discord if you want. I don't know. I got to do what I got to do, you know. I was trying to do everything for all you guys and make everyone happy, like I said, for the last 3.5 years straight. Didn't ask for $1. I tried to do a lot of videos and look at stocks that you guys were asking. Of course, if you're in the Discord, you saw that over, you know, like the last year or two, that the Discord got more popular. People came in and started just putting a lot of special requests in, so I never really was able to get to all those stocks. I know there's a lot that I may have missed, but, you know, again, there's only so much I can do. But that's it. That's enough. It's Friday. Just did a long video. We'll call it whatever, the 20 stock recap we just did real quick. And hopefully, as I said, everyone's kind of on the same page and has some ideas moving forward and isn't just completely, you know, treading water out there lost right now. But markets are hitting highs, so hopefully you're all doing well. And I'll end it there. So, Stocks by the Numbers, thanks for your time. Obviously, like the video, thumbs up, that helps out the algorithm. Leave a comment, helps out the algorithm. Share the video, that helps, of course. And, of course, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. That's our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your weekend.